You are 81 years old. Your hands tremble with the ache of 40 winters spent counting other people's fortunes. You're standing in a plain kitchen, jabbing one crooked finger at a frightened servant girl. And you are screaming. Not over an empire, not over a railroad, over milk. 2 cents too much for a bottle of milk. Your face burns crimson. The veins rise along your neck like cords. And in a moment, on this cold floor, you will fall still. You are the richest woman in Bahrain. $100 million rest in your name. The relative weight of more than 45 billion today. More gold than the kings of Europe command. And you will be undone by 2 pennies. But to understand how a fortune that vast ends on a kitchen floor, we have to go back to the very beginning. So let us start at the beginning. You are born into salt and oil and money. Not the marble palaces of the Astors, not the gold-leafed ceilings of Fifth Avenue. Something older, colder, and far more powerful. You are born in New Bedford, Massachusetts, the richest harbor in America, the city that lights the lamps of the entire world. Out in the Black Atlantic, your family's ships are hunting the great whales, and from those creatures pours the oil that burns in every parlor from London to Boston. They call it black gold, and it is yours. Your name is Hetty Robinson, and you carry 2 of the heaviest fortunes in New England in your small body. On one side, the Howlands. On the other, the Robinsons. Quaker dynasties both, austere, severe, allergic to display. Your grandfather, Gideon Howland, and your father, Edward Mott Robinson, do not believe in ornament. They believe in ledgers. They believe a dollar spent is a dollar surrendered, and a dollar saved is a soldier in an endless war. This is the empire you inherit before you can even walk. Not crowns, not thrones, but counting houses that smell of tallow and ink and the cold sweat of money. There is no soft cradle here. From your earliest memory, the house is silent and gray. Your mother is sickly, fading, of little use to a father who wanted a son to carry the fortune forward. And so you become the son he never had. At 6 years old, an age when other children chase hoops down the lane, you are sitting at your grandfather's knee reading aloud. Not stories, not scripture, the financial pages, the stock quotations, the shipping news, the prices of oil and cotton and government bonds. His eyes are failing, and yours are sharp, so you become the voice that reads the markets to the old man. You learn the language of money before you fully learn the language of love. And this is the first lesson the gold teaches you, the lesson that will shape every hour of the 80 years to come. People are warm only when they want something. Numbers never lie to you. Numbers never leave. A column of figures will never grow sick and fade like your mother, never grow cold and distant like your father. Money is the only thing in this world that, if you hold it tightly enough, can never betray you. But understand, even in this golden harbor, the shadow is already there, because you are a girl. And in this world, a girl is meant to be ornamental, decorative, married off and made quiet. A girl is not meant to touch the fortune. She is meant to be handed gently from her father's care into a husband's. They do not yet know what you are. They do not yet know that you will guard this money with a ferocity that will one day make grown barons tremble. And the first threat to your fortune does not come from a stranger. It is already inside the family. Her name is Sylvia Ann Howland, your aunt, the keeper of the other half of the Howland gold. $2 million that you have already, in the silence of your child's heart, decided are rightfully yours. The war for your fortune has begun, and you are not yet 10 years old. You are 30 years old, and the gold is finally yours. Or it should be. Your father is gone. With his last breath, Edward Mott Robinson hands you a fortune of nearly $6 million. Call it $250 million in today's money, perhaps more when measured against the world it bought. But he does not hand it to you cleanly. Even your own father, who raised you to read the markets like scripture, does not fully trust a woman to hold the family fortune in her own two hands. So he locks the largest share away in a trust, governed by men in dark suits, men who will dole your own gold back to you in careful portions, as though you were a child to be managed. This is your first front. The internal one, the family, the trustees, the conspiracy of men who believe your inheritance is too heavy for you to carry. And you understand, with that cold clarity that has lived in you since you were 6, that you must break their grip or spend your life begging for what is already yours. But the family has a second blade waiting. Her name is your aunt, Sylvia Ann Howland, the keeper of the other $2 million in Howland gold. When she passes, her will scatters that fortune to charities, to distant cousins, to anyone but you, and you will not have it. So you produce a document, an earlier will, you claim, one that leaves the entire fortune to you alone, and, most importantly, a page declaring that any later will should be considered a forgery. The trouble is that half of New England believes your page is the forgery. This becomes the scandal of the age, the Howland will case. The opposing lawyers do something that has never been done in an American courtroom. They summon a Harvard mathematician, the great Benjamin Pierce, and his calculations to the stand. He lays your aunt's signatures side by side and testifies that the odds of the strokes matching so perfectly by an honest hand are 1 in many thousands of millions. Proof, he argues, that you traced it. They bring in Oliver Wendell Holmes himself to study the ink under glass. You are, in the eyes of the nation, a young heiress accused of counterfeiting her own family's fortune. You do not win this one, not cleanly, but you do not lose your nerve either. You drag the fight across years and across an ocean, and you walk away with your reputation in ruins and your spine made of iron. Because you have learned the second lesson of the gold. The world will come for what is yours, wearing the mask of family, of law, of decency. And you must never, ever flinch. Stop. Consider where you stand. Outside the courtroom, the average person in America will not live to see 50. They eat day-old bread in the discarded parts of the pig. They drink water that carries fever through the tenements. And you, a single woman in a black dress, are fighting over a sum that an ordinary laborer could not earn in 4,000 lifetimes. 4,000 lifetimes for one signature. Now turn to the second front, the world outside the family. The rivals, the men of Wall Street who see a young woman with a fortune and smell an easy meal. This is where you stun them all. While the nation is at war with itself, the great families panic. They are certain the union will shatter, that the government's paper money, the greenbacks, the war bonds, will become worthless ash. So they sell. They dump their government debt for pennies and run for cover. You do the opposite. You buy. You buy the bonds nobody wants, at the bottom of the bottom, betting your inherited fortune that the union will hold and pay its debts in gold. You are not gambling. You have read the numbers, the way you read them aloud to your grandfather at 6 years old. And when the guns fall silent and the government pays, those worthless papers in your vault turn to mountains of gold. You do not merely keep your inheritance, you multiply it. The men who laughed at the woman in black are now quietly asking what she knows. And there is the third front, the front of legacy. Because the whale oil that built your family is dying. A black liquid pulled from the ground in Pennsylvania, petroleum, is about to snuff out every whaling fortune in New Bedford. Your ancestors' empire is becoming a relic before your eyes. You could go down with it. A proud Quakerness fading into history. Or you could pull the gold out of the dying past and pour it into the future. Into bonds, into mortgages, into railroads, into the bleeding city of New York itself. You choose the future. The whales are finished. The money is forever. And now comes the choice that decides what kind of force you will become. You are 33. A millionaire named Edward Henry Green wants to marry you. Charming, generous, a spender. The world expects you to do what every heiress does. Fold your fortune into his. Become an ornament on his arm. Let the man steer the gold. You refuse. Before you will say a single vow, you make him sign. A pact separating his money from yours completely forever. A thing almost unheard of in your time. Your gold stays your gold. And when, years later, Edward gambles himself into ruin and comes to you, your own husband, asking to be saved, you make the coldest decision of your life. You do not save him. You close the door. You keep the fortune pure and cast the man out. This is who you have decided to be. Not a wife, not an heiress, a guardian. The fortune comes first, before comfort, before the world's opinion, before love itself. The threats are neutralized. The gold is yours alone. And now you are ready to leave your mark on the world. Other great fortunes leave behind a monument you can touch. A pyramid against the desert sky. A palace of imported marble. A cathedral, a code of laws, a conquered map. You leave none of these. Your signature on the world is stranger, and in its own way more terrifying than any of them. You become the bank. Not a bank, the bank. The private treasury of an entire nation. In an age before there is any central reserve to steady the country. When the United States itself has no lender of last resort, you become that lender. When cities run dry, when railroads buckle, when the titans of Wall Street feel the floor giving way beneath their polished shoes, there is one desk they come to. Yours. A woman in a black dress, sitting on the floor of the chemical bank, becomes the still point around which all the gold in America turns. This is the empire you build, not of stone, of paper, of bonds and mortgages and liens. By the height of your power, you hold more than 6,000 pieces of America in your name. Railroads stretching across whole states, hotels, theaters, office towers, churches, and yes, even the ground where the dead are buried. You own cemeteries. You own the land beneath the living and the resting place of the gone. And you collect from all of it. Let the numbers strike you. At your peak, the fortune in your name reaches $100 million. Adjust it merely for inflation, and you stand near $3 billion today. But measure it the honest way, against the size of the entire economy you tower over, and your fortune swells past $45 billion. You are not one of the richest women alive. You are richer than nearly every name on any list of billionaires walking the earth right now. And you built it as a woman, alone, in a world that did not believe your hands were fit to hold a single dollar. Now step inside the fantasy. But understand, your luxury is not their luxury. Out on Fifth Avenue, the Vanderbilts and the Astors are pouring the equivalent of $5 million into a single masked ball. The women drip with South African diamonds heavy as shackles. They swallow oysters and champagne at Delmonico's beneath ceilings dripping gold leaf. They wrap themselves in pure silk and Italian marble. That is their signature, to spend. To set the gold on fire and warm themselves by the blaze. Your signature is the opposite, and that is precisely why it is more powerful. While they burn their fortunes, you own them. You hold the mortgages on the very palaces they dance in. The diamonds, the marble, the gold-leafed ceilings, when their spending outruns them, and it always does, they come to you and you lend against it all. So let us walk through a single day at the height of your power and feel what it is to be you. You wake before dawn in a cold rented room across the river in Hoboken or some forgotten corner of Brooklyn. $15 a month, perhaps. You are registered under a false name, Mrs. Dewey maybe, because the woman who owns 6,000 buildings will not pay a cent more in tax than she can dodge, and because she is certain that fortune hunters and worse are hunting her. Think on that contradiction. You own enough land to house a city, and you sleep in a single rented room that an ordinary clerk could afford. Your home costs less per month than one diamond button on an Astor gown. You dress, the same black wool dress you have worn for years, worn so long it has faded from black to a sickly bottle green. To save on the laundress, you have given a single instruction: wash only the hem, the part that drags through the black mud and horse filth of the streets. The rest stays as it is. Beneath it, against the cutting gray cold of a New York winter, you do not wear fur like the women uptown. You line your clothes with sheets of old newspaper, the cheapest insulation in the world, the morning stock quotations pressed against your skin like armor. Around your waist, hidden beneath the dress, you wear a heavy iron chain, and from it hang the keys to vaults and strong boxes scattered across the city. In your worn cloth bag you carry your breakfast, cold oatmeal or a dry crust or a few 2-cent crackers, and somewhere in there, a small pistol. Because you are always afraid. The richest woman in the world is always afraid. You take the ferry, you walk to the bank, and here is the second piece of the contradiction. A railroad baron earns more on the loan you grant him in a single afternoon than 300 families in the tenements will earn in a year. All of it flowing across the floor where you sit cross-legged among your papers, eating cold porridge warmed on the iron radiator. Now feel the room around you. The sound of it, the telegraph in the corner, clattering without pause, spitting out the price of every stock, every bond, the heartbeat of the gold machine you have mastered. The smell, old paper and ink and tallow. The radiator's metal heat. The faint sourness of porridge gone cold. The touch. The rough wool against your skin. The cold marble floor. The iron links of keys at your waist. The sight. Mountains of bonds, deeds, and certificates stacked around you like the walls of a fortress. And on your tongue, always, the same flat, joyless oatmeal, because the only flavor you have ever truly hungered for is the taste of a deal closed in your favor. And they come to you. That is the glory. Grown men, lords of Wall Street, lower themselves onto the floor of your bank to beg the woman they mocked. You lend, but never as the soft banks lend. They charge 6%. You charge 24, 30, 40. And for collateral, you take nothing less than the palaces and railroads of the men themselves. Twice the world turns to you and you save it. When New York's stock market shatters and the city cannot pay to keep its own streets clean or its watchmen at their posts, you step forward with a loan of millions and keep the city standing. And in that moment you become, in truth, something like the owner of Manhattan itself. And then comes your supreme hour. You are in your 70s, when the great financial terror sweeps the nation. The titans panic. Fortunes evaporate in an afternoon. The most ruined men in America cannot bear what they have lost. And you? You sit calmly at your desk, the one figure in all of Wall Street with gold to spare, signing loan after loan to the most powerful men in the country, men who, only yesterday, would not have shaken your hand, now lined up before you, asking the Witch of Wall Street to save them. You have become the most powerful private force in the entire economy of the United States. A woman the world wanted to keep ornamental now holds the leash of its richest men. And yet, at the very summit of all this power, not one soul in the world loves you. And somewhere, deep beneath the iron chain of keys, you have already begun to feel the cold. Here is the cruel secret of your fortune. It was never a crown. It was a cage of iron, and you forged every bar of it yourself. You own 6,000 buildings, and you cannot sleep safely in a single one. You drift from one cheap rented room to the next. Hoboken, Brooklyn, a tenement in New Jersey. Never the same bed for long, always under a false name. Because the terror that someone will come for your gold lives in you like a second heartbeat. You carry a pistol in your bag. You wear an iron chain of keys cinched against your body. The richest woman in the world moves through the city like a hunted thing. And the thing she is fleeing is the very fortune that is supposed to set her free. You have no friends. You cannot have them. You learned at 6 years old that warmth is just a hand reaching for your purse, and a lifetime has only hardened the lesson. Your husband, Edward, you cast out when his money failed. The world that once feared you now whispers a single word behind your back: witch, the Witch of Wall Street. A woman who touched gold, and so must be something unnatural. You have won everything a fortune can buy, and you are utterly, absolutely alone. And then comes the moment the cage shows you exactly what it has done to your soul. Your boy, Ned, is hurt. A bad fall, a damaged leg, a child in real pain. Any other parent with even a fraction of your wealth would summon the finest surgeon in the land before the hour was out. You do not. Instead, you dress your own son in the rags of a beggar, and you walk him from one free public clinic to the next, hiding your name, hoping to get the care for nothing. But a doctor recognizes your face from the newspapers. "You are Hetty Green," he says. "How dare you bring this child here pretending to be poor while millions sit in your accounts?" And he turns you away. So you take the boy home. You wait. You economize. And the wound, untreated, festers and turns. In the end, the leg cannot be saved at all. The surgeon's blade does its grim and final work, and your son walks on a wooden limb for the rest of his days. He loses his leg to the one thing you could never spend: a few dollars for a proper doctor. This is the betrayal at the heart of your story. And it does not come from a scheming vizier or a treacherous cousin. It comes from you. The fortune you guarded so fiercely has reached inside your own family and taken a piece of your child, because you could not bear to let a single coin go, not even for him. Your own blood was not worth the gold. And here is the paradox you will never untangle. You spent every waking hour of 80 years making certain that no one on earth could ever take your fortune from you. You succeeded completely. No one ever did. And the price of that perfect victory is this: there is no one left who loves you, no one whose warmth you trusted, no comfort the gold can buy back. You held the money so tightly that everything human slipped through your fingers. You are the most powerful private force in America. You can move cities, break barons, steady a panicking nation with a stroke of your pen. But you cannot buy a single hour of being loved for who you are, rather than what you hold. The cage is sealed, and the only thing left to decide is how the story ends. It ends as it began, over a handful of pennies. You are 81 years old, and you have outlasted nearly everyone. You are still the richest woman in the world. Your gold is intact. You won every battle you ever fought. And then comes the smallest fight of all. A servant brings the milk. Whole milk, not the skim you ordered. 2 cents too dear. And the woman who lent millions to save a city, who made the lords of Wall Street kneel, rises up in fury over 2 pennies. They are robbing me, you cry. Every cent counts. Your face floods red, the veins stand out along your neck, and in the middle of that final, furious word about money, a storm breaks inside your mind. You raise a hand to your head, your eyes turn, and you fall. The richest woman in the world is brought down not by a rival, not by ruin, but by 2 cents of milk. You went out exactly as you lived, guarding pennies to the very last breath. There was no peace in it, and no love at the bedside. Only the gold, and a number with 8 zeros after it, and a name the world already called a curse. But here is the truth of every fortune built by one set of cold, brilliant hands. It cannot survive those hands. You leave behind a will, and in it there is not a single cent for charity. Not $1 of your 100 million given to the poor whose water carried fever, the city whose streets you once paid to clean. Every coin goes to your 2 children, Ned and Sylvia, the same 2 children you dressed in rags to save a doctor's fee. And neither of them is you. Watch what you spent 80 years building come undone in a few short ones. Your son Ned, who limped on a wooden leg because of your thrift, inherits tens of millions and does the one thing you never could. He spends yachts, mansions, a monstrous ship, vast collections of coins and stamps and curiosities, fortunes poured out for the sheer joy of the spending you denied yourself your entire life. He empties the vaults you guarded with a pistol and an iron chain of keys. And then the final blow, the one that ends the dynasty forever. Neither Ned nor Sylvia leaves a child behind. There is no 3rd generation, no heir to carry the Robinson Green name into the future. When your children's time comes, the great fortune, the largest ever held by a woman in America, is scattered to distant relations, to causes, to the very charities you refused, dissolving like sea mist over the harbor your family once ruled. Within a single generation, the empire of paper and gold you bled your whole humanity to build simply vanishes. The gold is gone, spent, scattered, taxed away, given to strangers. And the name? The name does not vanish, but it does not survive as you'd have wished either. History does not remember you as a financial genius, the one-woman bank who steadied a nation. It remembers a woman in a green-black dress, lining her clothes with newspaper, heating cold porridge on a radiator, the witch of Wall Street, who let her son lose his leg over a doctor's bill. You won the money. You lost the story. So here's the question I leave with you. You held your fortune so tightly that nothing human could pry it loose. And in the end, the gold slipped away anyway, and the love never came at all. If a fortune as vast as yours buys neither happiness in life nor a legacy after it, then tell me, watching this now, what is all that gold actually for?